In autumn 2016, Pearson will be running training sessions to support you with marking the new A-level history exam papers. This face-to-face training is for teachers who are delivering the new Edexcel A-level history for first assessment in 2017. It has been designed to support you with marking the Edexcel GCE History Specimen papers. Allowing you to use the specimen paper as a mock for your students. During the training, you will cover different types of questions across papers 1 to 3 for a number of different topics. The training will help you to understand the assessment requirements of the new specification, explore the structure of the 3 examination papers, especially the new types of questions, review examples of student responses, gain an understanding of how to apply the new types of mark schemes accurately, understand how Edexcel can support you, ask questions, and share good practice. The session will examine the 3 assessment objectives and will apply these to a number of student answers. This video provides a taster of what will be on offer for the full face-to-face training session. We will look at how AO1 is applied to a depth essay from Paper 2, how AO2 will be examined by studying an answer to a Paper 3 source question, and how the new assessment objective AO3, which covers interpretations of the past, will be assessed on Paper 1, Section C, Question 5. Open up the accompanying Exemplar Responses pack. A link to the pack is provided with this video. Look at the AO1 exemplar answer to Paper 2, Section B, on France in Revolution, 1774 to 1799. How significant was Robespierre's role in the development of the Reign of Terror, 1793 to 94? This question is assessed by AO1. Assessment Objective 1 states that candidates must demonstrate, organize, and communicate knowledge and understanding to analyze and evaluate the key features related to the period studied, making substantiated judgments and exploring concepts as relevant of cause, consequence, change, continuity, similarity, difference, and significance. For this question, candidates need to examine and explain Robespierre's role in the development of the Reign of Terror, and the role of other individuals and key events. Their conclusion should evaluate the stated factor and the extent of its significance. Look at the student's response. The knowledge is broadly accurate, though the paragraph on events in the Vendée is confused and essentially inaccurate. The introduction is not a strong one. The candidate states that Robespierre's contribution is quite significant, but we are not told in what way this might be so. Paragraphs 2 to 4 are essentially descriptive, dealing with the fall of the Girondins the events of the 7th of June 1793, and the development of a new political system from mid-1793. These points are not strongly linked to the Terror, nor to Robespierre's role in them. The remaining paragraphs attempt to address Robespierre's role in 1793 to 94, but the points made are largely descriptive, with little in the way of explanation. The conclusion adds little to the answer, and leaves the reader uncertain as to the nature and significance of Robespierre in these years. When examiners come to assess a student's performance, they apply the generic mark scheme, which Edexcel has published in the sample assessment materials and additional specimen papers. Each level of attainment consists of a number of different strands, and examiners consider each strand when deciding which level is the best fit to an answer. This response on Robespierre's role in the development of the Terror displays the following qualities. Analysis is limited to some key features of the period, but there are several descriptive passages that are not shown to relate to the question's focus. Knowledge displayed is mostly accurate and relevant, but range and depth are lacking here, and there are only implicit links to the focus of the question. There is an attempt to reach an overall judgment, but with limited substantiation. There are attempts made to organize the answer, but the structure is not secure. The answer is therefore placed within Level 2. The training meeting will explain in more detail how to apply the mark scheme and how to award a mark within that level. We will also give advice on scripts where some strands belong in one level while others are assessed in a different level. We will now move on to consider the answer to a source question for Paper 3. In the source questions, Assessment Objective 2 is examined. Candidates are asked to analyze and evaluate appropriate source material, primary and/or contemporary to the period, within its historical context. For Paper 3 source questions, a single source is provided of around 350 words. Open the accompanying exemplar pack to the Paper 3 Section A response on the making of modern Russia. The question under discussion asks students to assess the value of the source for revealing the extent of support for the Bolsheviks in Russia and their attitude to democracy. Explain your answer, using the source, the information given about its origin, and your own knowledge about the historical context. This slide shows what candidates are required to demonstrate in their evaluation of the extract. They must consider the two inquiries in the question: the extent of Bolshevik support and the party's attitude towards democracy. They must also consider the information given on the origins of the source. And finally, deploy their own knowledge in evaluating the source. Look at the AO2 response in the accompanying pack. The exemplar script here has an introduction which makes a judgment on both inquiries. The candidate continues with a consideration of Bolshevik support by referring to the labouring classes. Analysis of this point is reasonably secure. Contextual knowledge is deployed to support the discussion on the Bolsheviks and the social revolutionaries. Some evaluative comments are not very convincing, notably that the information is unreliable. Analysis and evaluation of the Bolsheviks' attitude towards democracy is somewhat less secure, though there is some analysis of what the source reveals about the reasons for the dissolution of the Constituent Assembly, which would mean that the Bolsheviks would not have to compromise with other parties in carrying out their policies. The conclusion considers reasons why the source might be valuable, but offers only undeveloped comment suggesting that the speed of the actions taken in 1918 could undermine its accuracy. The answer displays the following qualities. There is some understanding of the source material, and one or two relevant points are selected for investigation. Own knowledge of the historical context is deployed to explain inferences, for example, attitudes to democracy. The nature and the purpose of the material is addressed, along with the position of its author. Judgments are drawn, but the justification for these is not extensive. Once again, the script must be assessed against the level descriptors and the strands within each level. The answer therefore shows understanding and some analysis of the source, some evaluation taking into account the purpose and position of the author, and it reaches some judgments. However, evaluation of the material is not extensive, and some comments on reliability are not secure. The candidate is a little more confident in considering Bolshevik support rather than attitude towards democracy. All these considerations fit the Level 3 descriptor. Our final candidate response is an answer to the interpretations question in Paper 1. Paper 1, Section C, targets a new assessment objective, A03, where candidates analyze and evaluate, in relation to the historical context, different ways in which aspects of the past have been interpreted. In these questions, candidates are asked to examine two extracts on an issue, which is subject to different interpretations by historians. They must analyze and evaluate the material in both extracts, and use their own knowledge of the issue to reach a judgment on how convincing they find the point of view given in the question. Take a look at the extracts in the accompanying exemplar pack. The question under discussion is from Paper 1, Option C, Britain in the years 1625 to 1701. In the light of different interpretations, how convincing do you find the view that the revolution settlement of 1688 to 89 did not clarify the powers of the monarch? To explain your answer, analyze and evaluate the material in both extracts, using your own knowledge of the issues. In the answer offered here, the candidate begins by looking at both extracts, highlights the contrast between them, and draws a tentative conclusion at the start. In the two following paragraphs, the answer considers both extracts separately, with some detailed analysis, especially of extract 1. There is some reference to the usefulness of the extracts, which is taking us away from the focus of the question. The conclusion attempts to reach a judgment based on the evidence of both extracts, and with some references to own knowledge. The generic level descriptors for Section C are published in the sample assessment materials and specimen papers, and should be used in assessing the answer. There is an understanding of the extracts, both of which have been analysed and compared. The candidate has considered issues raised in the extracts, and has discussed these with some integration of own knowledge. However, there is some lack of depth in reference to one or two aspects. The answer does reach a supported overall judgment, and understands that the issue of monarchical powers is a matter of continued debate. All these features suggest that the answer is a Level 4 response. This presentation is simply a taster of what you can expect from the mock marking training sessions, which will be offered later this year. We will be looking in more detail at the 3 assessment objectives, how to choose a level which fits candidates' answers, perhaps most importantly, how to reach an accurate decision on which mark within a level is appropriate. To book a place on the training, go to the Pearson Edexcel training page and select A-Level History. If you have any questions about the training, get in touch with the History Subject Advisor.